everybody knows I do porn, and I really would probably like to stop it, but it's so much a part of my life that it's kind of a part of my character and my being, to be into it. And when I'm in it, I go into a mode I call porn research, where I'm basically trying to figure out how to get certain kind of porn or certain kind of girls or whatever, certain kind of looking girls out of the porn, and I'll use Yandex image search. I've got so many techniques for doing it, and one of my new ways of doing it is something called FaceApp, which is on the iPad, and you can basically just manipulate people's faces in various sorts of ways, and you can take like somebody's face and put it on somebody else's body. But somebody pointed one out to me called, it's got a different name, and I would have to pull it up on my iPad to see what the name is. I think I might have it in here. I think it's in that iPad, I know for sure. Let's see. Let me go into App Store and see if I can dig it up. And it's more kosher. It's really, they're trying to get away from these. FaceApp doesn't care what you do with the images that are in it. The thing that's really kind of remarkable about FaceApp is you can give it, say, a music video of Britney Spears, and you can say, okay, make her look young in this music video. And for most of the music video, I tried it. It didn't really make her look young. It was Toxic I did it on. But at the very end, you actually see her face, and she looks like she's a teenager. I was just like, these are things the Lord wouldn't want me to talk about, but I mean, I'm going to probably take my gusto away when I'm seeing these songs. But if the stuff exists, it's out there. And probably worth talking about, even for people who are not into this stuff, so they can understand that it's just in the pipe, and we need to be probably concerned with it and how we use it. I would point out to the actors and actresses that it's called Reface, by the way. You can basically take a picture of somebody and put it to a movie, and it isn't quite as good as a deep fake, but it's close. And they won't let you put anything they consider to be indecent as a movie source material. The animation feature doesn't look realistic. It does something funky with the heads. It tries to figure out where the head is, and then it tries to turn the head, but it doesn't turn it with a realistic face or a realistic head, but it turns it with something that's looks like a box or something, like an image mapped on a box. And so like it would map somebody's chin to the corner of a box and put their mouth on the edge of the box, and it would move the box around to show the movements and the rotations of their head, but it doesn't look right. It looks really silly. It looks better whenever you give it video material and you try to map a face onto it. But the future is that I can see somewhere down the road that you'll be putting in a DVD into your player, and you'll say, I really don't like Jodie Foster. Could you replace her with Olivia d'Abo or something? And so her face would go away, and Olivia would be replaced her face. Or you could pick somebody else, like you could pick I don't know. There's a number of, you could pick Slater's sister, what's her name, Helen Slater. Put Helen Slater in there. You don't like Jodie Foster, you replace her face with Helen Slater. And maybe 20, 30 years down the road, you can replace actors' complete acting and skills and everything in a scene, um, and do it in real time. Um, that's gonna happen eventually somewhere down the road, and the actors need to realize that what this means is you'll stop getting plastic surgery. There will be no reason to get plastic surgery if you can have a makeover done with a synthetic per, um, version of your face. You can go on acting the way you've always acted. You just don't have to be concerned about your looks anymore. The paparazzi won't be following you around because they won't be able to verify or prove that the photos they've got are 100% correct, or that they're real, that they're authentic, because anybody and their dog will be able to fake your looks or fake your face on anything. And so paparazzi go away, and you can license your face, because obviously if they're using your face, they can't say they're not using your face. They might be able to make something that's somewhere similar to your face, but you could still use algorithms to determine how close the face is that they're using to your face, and you could say in a court of law, you're using my face, and you therefore owe me, and you could use the delta of difference between their face and your face to determine how much of a royalty you'll get off of them. They'll agree with that, and then they'll just give it to you, and you make money off of all the movies that are using your face in their content. And you won't probably be able to agree with some of the content that's out there that people use, but you will be making money licensing off of those. A downside to this is some of the studios are going to probably come up with their own human faces, and they won't be of actual people. However, there will be fans that will make sure that there will be purist fans. They'll be like, I'm not going to follow an actor that is not a real person, and so there will be that kind of thing going on. But that's what's coming down the pipe. And VR 180, keep in mind this new video format is perfect for individual actors who need to have need to show their chops. They can do theater performance. They don't have to have camera people. They can just place the camera, a 360 VR stereo camera, stick it in some spot in their room. They can even put it on the ceiling, or just put it at get a fish tank and then hide it somewhere in the fish tank or on top of the fish tank, and capture the video. And eventually you'll be able to use multiple VR 180 cameras to get a complete perspective, a complete 3D stereo immersive perspective on a scene, and you can just do your acting and then later edit the VR 180 content, and not ever have to have a camera or lighting or any of that kind of crap. That stuff will, with time you'll be able to do that, and you'll find work, and you'll be able to do it even during COVID, because you can just send it right over the net before producers and whatnot. You don't have to travel. You can set up a green screen and do all of your actor bits, and they can place you in their movies wherever they need to. If you have multiple cameras, there may be agencies or places where studios where you can go where they have all the VR 180 cameras set up, and they can do all the various sorts of shots that are needed for the film, and you never have to leave home, and you can look at the dailies that day yourself and see how you performed and see what you should have done, what you didn't do, and they can frame you for shots even if it's VR 180. Because VR 180 is a superset of whatever you can do in a 2D. The only thing you can't do is telephotos. You won't be able to do telephoto. You won't be able to do. I mean, you could to some extent, but it wouldn't work out well. But that's the future of VR 180, and the Hollywood's not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. So it's a new medium. The reason why Hollywood won't touch it is because it all the things they do in Hollywood relies upon a method of storytelling and a method of storyboarding and things like that. Because what you're doing is you're creating content for a rectangle, and because of that, they can't use their techniques that they've used for the establishing shots and stuff like that. You can't really do with VR 180, so it just really kind of breaks what is possible, or what can't. It won't translate well what they do, and people like Pixar are not going to create VR 180 versions of their films, because when they made their films, they that means they cut out the content that had nothing to do, that didn't make the frame, and that's to reduce the rendering times. But so they'll have all these scenes where lots of the content is cut out. They might have the original scenes, the base scenes, and then be able to do the animation on top of that. But it's really taxing, and it's not something they can easily do. It's much easier for Pixar to create a 3D movie from a 3D framed movie from content they have than to do a VR 180 immersive experience movie. Those are going to be much harder because they have to create all the content that wasn't there. They have to immerse you in a world, and that means they have to create more objects, and they have to spend more time. And so in the future they may spend more time, but I'm kind of doubt it, because it's just going to make the production cost fly through the roof. Over time, they're going to come up with AI to generate all the missing environment that they would normally do with artists. But that also means they're going to let go of a lot of lighters and scene artists. They're going to be using AI to fill out to do the lighting, to do all the non-super creative stuff. The super creative stuff, like the keyframed animation, the animation itself, a lot of that can be done with AI, but it's not going to be expressive, and AI can't do expressive animation. It can only do realistic looking stuff. You see, and so your animator is going to mix their style with what the AI has. That AI can handle the walk cycles. They may block out their scene with the characters, and then apply the AI to make sure that all the movements are correct, and then they'll add the expressive elements. The exaggeration, the squash and stretch, and all this stuff that makes things look a little more cartoony, kind of get in your face and kind of surprise you, because the AI is not going to create it's not going to create surprising content because of how it works. It uses deep learning, and it might be able to learn your style if you repeat things a lot. So it's going to force you to be more creative, and you may even be able to assess and create your own AI engine to replicate your style, and then sell your style to people and stop being an animator and become an AI engine, animation engine generator. Somebody that makes tools for people that can't afford traditional animators. and then they can just apply some AI algorithm to the to their their real content and get out of it something that looks closer to a painterly animation effect. But that's all coming down the pipe, and the only thing that AI does really well on is stuff that that has lots of source data content. Um, Artists that are creating paintings, unless they've created hundreds of paintings, the AI is not going to be able to create paintings like them because how the content that they put in their paintings is dependent upon really intellectual, deep thought, and it's something inside of them. And unless they have lots and lots of paintings, and the paintings are fairly similar, and the content seems to follow a rule system, then if that's the case, then the AI will pick up on it. But if it's creative, and I mean, AI is going to pick up on making paintings like what's his name, Bob Ross, because he created bunches of the paintings and he had a technique to it. There's going to be AI algorithms that will produce Bob Ross style paintings on the fly, and it won't be that interesting for a novice to produce a Bob Ross style painting because it's a well understood technique that he uses, and it's craft, it's design, but it's not fine art. I wouldn't call it fine art. Fine art is when you are what I consider to be fine art, what I consider to be really creative, is going out on a limb to do something that breaks the painting, and then you try to reconstruct it, and you find new stuff. That's not going to come about in a kind of a graphic in a graphic design where you're using tools to try to create realistic looking content. You're trying to use tools to create entertaining or enthralling content, but it's not going to be, content that's going to look good to the eye is what graphic design is all about. It's not about creating original looking content. It's about creating content that is that catches the eye. Okay, that satisfies the eye. That causes the eye to relax on it. If your painting produces a lot of confusing details and uses a lot of color, it's not going to look. People are not going to easily rest their eyes on it. It'll distract them, and that might be what you're shooting for. But anyhow, doing my podcast thing again. Let me stop this one. Let's get into the music.